Our first guest has been famous her whole life. The films, the looks, her mom. She writes about her life as a little girl in a new book called There Was a Little Girl, The Real Story of My Mother and Me. Please welcome to our show an icon to my generation, Brooke Shields. Yay! Hi, Brooke! So nice to see you again. Yes. Oh, Brooke.
Like a little shoe.
Yes. That's the shoe cam. I'll give you some. You want some shoe cam?
Sure.
Oh, turn it on, guys.
I got these just for you.
Thanks, Brooke.
See?
Brooke, you sound hoarse from being been screaming at.
I'm so much talking about myself, just sick. I'm losing my own voice. I'm sick of hearing myself talk.
You know,
I will try to sound sultry.
No, it's very Demi Moore.
Thank you.
We were
Yes,
just talking
that's where I was
about
going.
her.
Now I need a young boyfriend. Just kidding, honey. Just a joke.
You are an icon to our generation. You know, honestly, you know, I know that you'll be turning 50 this year, next year? This year?
This year.
This year. And
Well, May. I guess it's next year, but
you and I are, you graduated from high school in 82?
Yep, 80. I was 83, and then 83, yes, 82 I graduated.
Yes.
And then I was 83 to, you know, I'm always making myself older. It's so bizarre. I think I'm already 50, but I'm not. Hanging on there, it's so funny.
You round
I've
up.
just been around for so long.
But no, that's a good thing. That is a good thing. We all watched you grow up and do provocative things and movies and stuff, and I was always a cheerleader.
It's so sweet.
How do you feel about the whole 50 thing?
You know, it used to sound so much older, but now that it's happening,
Yes.
I'm like, oh no, wait a minute, I've got another 10 years before I'm
Yes.
50. Like I sort of feel much younger
Yes.
than the number is. But what I will say is it sounds worse than it actually feels, except for there's certain things like I can't recover as quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Can't drink as much.
No, yes.
Like, all of that
Stuff
stuff.
hurts in the morning.
Things ache. I've become that person that goes to class with stuff taped and wrapped. And, you know, and I always used to just bounce back more easily.
Yeah.
So that's my only sort of issue with it.
Well, you
but-
look good.
Thank you.
I mean, yes, Brooke.
Thank you. As you.
Listen, and congratulations on this book.
Thank you.
This book is so good.
Thank you. It's already on the bestseller list.
Is
I'm
it?
so excited.
Congratulations
2
to you.
weeks, yeah.
Brooke, this book is so revealing. It's such a page turner. Does your husband know about all the stuff that went on, or was he shocked?
He hasn't read it. And he's afraid to read it. It's very interesting. It's sort of sweet. He's the real writer in the family, but I don't think he knows all the stories. I mean, there's nothing in there he hasn't heard from me. But I do think reliving some of that stuff. Like my first book was about postpartum, and he had a really hard time reading any of that either because he relives it with me.
Yeah.
So if there's any pain, that's what he. But I mean, you know, I think he just doesn't want me to be sad and then to read sadder parts.
But you release so much, you've got to feel terrific after like the writing sessions. You know what I mean?
I do. I mean, I feel it's funny. It's not catharsis in the way that I thought it would be, but it is a fuller version of me, good and bad.
Yes. And I appreciate that. It's juicy. So I was reading in the book that your mom, when you were a baby, used to leave you with the neighbors so she could go drinking.
At least she didn't bring me in the bar.
Although I read that she brought you to the bar before, too.
That was later. That was when I could appreciate it. No, you know, it's funny because I'd never remembered that. I didn't know because when I got old enough, it wasn't like she was leaving me and like I was a latchkey kid.
Right.
But then I was recently at this memorial and a guy came up to me and I think he just wanted to come up to me to say this because people love to say this. I tell everybody I slept with Brooke Shields. And you're like, all right, you're a jerk. First of all, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Because he's like a dirty old man. And like that's what it sounded like to me. And I was like, oh, sorry, hi. And he then said, oh no, your mom. And it was funny because there's part of you that she lived in a building and he was a really good friend of hers. And he was in for the night. And I was like, you know, 15 months old.
Yes.
So she was like, look, take care of the baby. And there's a weird thing that I don't fault her for. Like at least she's going out, she came back and she put me to bed. So, you know, people are probably outraged by it, but it's an interesting thing. Like it used to be where we had neighbors.
Yes.
It used to be a village. You couldn't leave
Now
your kid
neighbors
with
don't know
somebody.
each other.
And now, you know, it's dangerous.
I was a big cheerleader for the Calvin Klein ad. I knew exactly what you were talking about. Nothing comes between me and my Calvin.
Did you?
Yes!
Like the way I did?
No, I knew. I knew.
That's so weird.
Tell me about the backlash, if any, that you got
So
from this.
the line was, and I mean, the fact people are still talking about it is kind of fascinating, but the line was, do you want to know what comes between me and my Calvins? Nothing. Now, you asked me if anything came between me and my mom, I'd say no, nothing. You asked me my favorite doll, I'm like, nothing comes between me and my favorite doll.
Right.
It was a saying. By the way, it was spelled appropriately. We come out and they made it either about wearing no underwear or something else much more sexual.
I was thinking the sexual thing. But you were raised...
I mean, that's weird, that's awesome, because but they didn't, I mean, Diane Arbus's daughter, who is... June Arbus, I think it is. She wrote all the copy.
Yeah.
So it was like this unbelievable team of artists that were writing this copy. And out of 13 commercials, that's the one that they pulled because it was.
It's iconic, though. It's just
crazy.
But see, Brooke, you read in the book, you were very sheltered, although you were.
I was naive. And I was innocent. I was so naive. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. So, and see, for a lot of us at that age, we were like 13 at that time when that came out.
Well, I was 15 when I did the commercials.
Yeah, well, I knew stuff at 15, so I knew what you were talking about. And then you went on to Princeton, and we've talked about this before, but you get more in depth with it. You lost your virginity to Superman.
I'm not stupid.
Right? Dean Cain. And Dean,
look at that.
what
He's
a
yummy.
handsome couple. He was like the captain of the football
Delicious.
team or whatever, and you just gorgeous. Brooke Shields.
We were so in love. It was crazy, and he's so sweet, and he's that guy that everybody likes, like men, women, children, dogs.
Oh, he's been here before, I know.
And he's real. That's him for real.
Yeah.
I mean, I called him and I was like, listen, it's not like it's news to people because it's been out. I said, but I'm gonna talk about it. I said, you come out looking great. I come out looking a little bit like a freak.
Like a cuckoo. Okay, so look. So they have the sex.
The sex.
The virginity is then lost. Brooke decides to get panicky, opens up the dorm room door, and runs down the hall.
And we're buck naked. I don't know where the hell I'm
Naked?
running to.
What happened?
And he's running after me with like a blanket going, you're crazy, what's the matter with you?
Yes.
Like, because it was so monumental. Everybody in the world knew I was a virgin. My mother was drunk in the house. She told me to wait till I get married. So I got that. I've got the public. I've got girls writing to me going, my boyfriend's pressuring me. And I'm saying, don't worry, you don't have to do it. I'm carrying the weight.
Oh, God, I know, of our whole generation.
You can't enjoy yourself at that point. You know what I mean? Like, and so the poor guy. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, I had sex. That means I left my mother. I've just abandoned my mother. I mean, this is how enmeshed we were as people. You feel like you're letting people. It's like, and it's sad because it would have been nice.
Did he break up with you after that? Did he freak out?
No, he was so amazing. No, and you like, oh my God, I have 2 daughters. I hope that they have a guy that great. The first time. Seriously.
Hold that thought. More juicy chat with Brooke Shields after this. We're back with Brooke Shields. We're talking about her new memoir, so good. It's called There Was a Little Girl. And her name is Brooke.
And Mom, because it was, do you know this poem? There was a little girl who had a little curl right in the middle of her forehead. When she was good, she was very, very good. When she was bad, she was
horrible.
And she used to say that about me.
Yes.
And it's the double meaning.
Yeah.
Very deep. And I used to say it about her. So that's where that comes from.
Nice.
Anyway.
And I like the picture on the front. Where was this picture taken?
That was on the set of Pretty Baby, actually. But it's so indicative of my mom. She always had glasses on top of her head, rings on all her fingers, and she had this like great blouse, which is back in style now.
Pretty Baby, which, by the way, thank you for making that for our generation as well. I like that movie. And Blue Lagoon and all that stuff. Okay, so your mother was the original Kris Jenner.
Yeah, except Kris, I mean, everybody, like, God bless them all, but Kris is more in the forefront. She is, she's there with it. My mother never had the self-confidence to doll up and really be out there in front. It was all about me.
Yeah.
So it was like she wasn't spending the time on herself.
Yes.
And she
Maybe
never
Kris
made it
needs
about
to be
her.
more like your mother.
It's different generation.
And then also, is it true you guys had no agent,
Never had a manager, never had an agent, never had
So you kept all the money?
Well, she spent it on stuff. She spent it all on stuff and kept buying stuff and houses and stuff. Every time I did like a big project, she'd buy a house. And then she'd buy the house with the contents. Then when we sold the house, she kept the contents. So I had warehouse the size of an airplane hangar.
A hoarder's paradise, no lie, in the book. Okay, let's talk about the marriage to Andre Agassi.
Okay.
So, you guys dated for 5 years, and or 4 years, you were married for how many?
We were together totally 5.
5 years. And how many were you married?
2.
And you write in the book that it was a mistake. You knew it right after you said, I do.
I think that there was a moment where we both sort of knew, like, oh God, we don't want to lose each other, but I don't know if we're really ready to spend the rest of our lives together.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of respect for each other, and I had a big need for him. And I was so afraid that if I said no, that he would leave me.
Did your mother like him?
No, she didn't dislike him, but he was responsible in her mind for the breakup of my mother and I. And what she'd never really realized was that he was the one that said, every other guy always sort of made it about, except Dean, but made it about, him or your mom or me. And it was like, you choose me, you break up with your mother, and that's it. And he said, you need to separate, but she's always gonna be your mom, and you need to maintain that and respect that. And he helped me legally do it. But so it was still the demise in her mind.
So in the book, there's so much juicy stuff. Your date to Liz Taylor's wedding with Michael Jackson. You know more about your mother, the men in your lives. You talk a bit about everything. One thing that I want to ask you, though, Brooke Shields. You were raised, it seems, a little naive, like we just talked about. You talk about it in the book. What are you doing differently with your girls? Are you going to release more information to them before
You know,
they get
it's
out in the
hard.
world?
You want to keep them these little people, but
Yeah.
you know that when they're outside of your realm, they have to be cognizant of what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think they need to be prepared. But it's not, you know, they're not really mature enough yet. I mean,
How old are they?
they're 8 and 11. And I try really hard to just sort of clue them in. But I think what I'm doing the most differently is that I'm not putting myself in a position for them to worry about me, them to take care of me. And
Understood.
I spent the majority of my life worrying about my mother's safety, worrying about her life.
Do you want them to be showbiz kids?
No, I don't think they can handle it. I think it's
Yeah.
a different generation right now, and they don't have the patience.
Yeah.
You know? They don't know, you know, they really don't understand the work ethic and what it takes. And I don't think they're prepared for what it feels like to fail.
Understood.
You know.
This book is so juicy. I could talk to you all day, but we have to go. Brooke Shields, everybody clap it up for her. Hold up her best-selling book. It's called There Was a Little Girl, The Real Story of My Mother and Me. It's in bookstores now.